But let's get started. As you know, the title is called Opinions, Dominions, Great Virginians, and the Hope for Civil Discourse. Right? So, you think you're smart. Well, don't believe everything you think. We are obsessed with opinions. That's what we talk about, opinions. We rarely talk about facts. The society's slogan, "To question is the answer," is not an invitation to talk about facts. It's a statement that says, if you ask a question, that's the answer. It's boring when we talk about facts. We do, though. We talk about facts when we believe the person we're speaking with doesn't have enough facts to understand the opinion you're about to give. So we'll give an update of the facts as we see them. Generally, people looking for a fact-based conversation are going to be in for a long search. We don't chat about 2 + 2 = 4. You ever get into a conversation with someone about which is the tallest building in the world, or what was the name of that actor who played that character you saw in a movie at 3 a.m. 3 months ago when you couldn't sleep? Google it. Google it. Used to be, someone who could retain and spout facts was considered smart and valuable, but not so much anymore. Today, we want people who can take facts, analyze, extrapolate, project, and offer an opinion of the future. We chat about our opinions all the time at the office, at the bar, at home. I love the smell of napalm in the morning. And the other guy says, well, you know, I'm not really much of a morning napalm guy. Opinions are everywhere. The court of public opinion, scientific opinion, legal opinion, medical opinion, editorial opinion, opinion of the court, dissenting opinion, second opinion. Man walks into a doctor's office, says, "Doc, I'm not feeling very well." Doc says, "I think you only got 6 months to live." Man says, "You know, I want a second opinion." Doc says, "Okay, you're ugly too." New opinions often appear first as jokes, then as something contemptible, then as questions open to discussion, and finally as something approaching an accepted truth. Look at Darwin for evidence of this. Look at Henry Ford. They laughed at these folks when they first offered what they were talking about. Look at Einstein. Look at a woman's skirt, originally down around the ankles and showed a little ankle. There was some giggling. It was a big joke. And then people talked about it. Said, what's wrong with showing an ankle? And finally it became accepted that an ankle was okay. And now a woman can wear a skirt or pants or whatever she chooses. It became an accepted truth, or at least approaches an accepted truth. 2 medical students were walking along the street when they saw an old man walking with his legs spread apart. One medical student says, "Look at that guy over there. I think he has Petrie's syndrome. I learned that in class. I'm pretty certain he has Petrie's syndrome." The other medical student says, "No, that's not Petrie's syndrome. That's Savlaki's syndrome. I learned that in class. Look at how he's walking. That's definitely Savlaki's syndrome." The two can't agree. They argue with each other, and they say, "Well, why don't we just go up and ask him what it is? He'll tell us." So they go up to the old man, and they say, "Excuse me, sir, we're 2 medical students. We couldn't help but notice how you were walking. Would you mind telling us what syndrome you have?" And the old man looked at the 2 medical students and said, "I'll tell you, but first, you tell me what you think." But one medical student says, "Oh, well, I learned in class the way you're walking, it looks like you have Petri syndrome. That's what I think you have." The old man says, "You thought, but you were wrong." And the other medical student says, oh my goodness, I think you have Souvlaki syndrome. I learned it in class, I'm certain you have Souvlaki syndrome." And the old man says, "You thought, but you were wrong." "Well, sir, do you mind telling us what it is that you have?" And the old man says, "I thought it was gas, but I was wrong." Don't believe everything you think. An opinion is a subjective belief and is the result of emotion, perspective, understanding, feelings, desires, and an interpretation of facts. The humans, and I'm going to include nearly everyone in this room, make sharing opinions complicated. Ever notice how people draw opposing opinions from the same set of facts? Read the Constitution, read the Quran, read the Bible, read the Torah. Or look at this lady. Can you see that lady? How old is she? Old or young? How many people see old? Show of hands. How many people see young? A show of hands. How many people see both? Same set of facts, just like a crime scene. Go to a witness, they're one of the worst people to get on the stand. Because you get more than one witness, they don't agree what they saw. And they all say it's all the same set of facts, but from a different perspective. Ever notice how philosophers enjoy complicating simple subjects? Just an opinion. It may be fair to say that opinions never change without the consideration of new information. Do you think the Reverend Pat Robertson will one day wake up one morning, have a cup of coffee, and declare gay marriage a beautiful manifestation of God's law? No. Neither do I. There's also, though, the phenomenon where people, rather than change their mind when presented with new facts, instead strengthen their resolve when presented with new facts and refuse to change their position when their position has been challenged. Look at creationism, intelligent design. So how do we decide whose opinion is better suited to our own sensibilities? To reach our own opinion about someone else's opinions, we should analyze the supporting arguments used to form the opinion. That's my opinion. That's what's supposed to happen at the United States Supreme Court. At the end of their chambers discussions, the justices write their opinions, and then the majority view becomes law of the land. And God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth." Unquote. Really? I have dominion over every living thing that moves upon the earth? Well, that's cool. That means all the humans too, right? Sure, every living thing. Then why doesn't my opinion rule the day? It's my opinion that we should be kinder. It's my opinion that we should have better civic understanding. It's my opinion that we should live within our means. It's my opinion that we should reduce our deficit by ending the wars. It's my opinion that we should stop making weapons. It's my opinion that no child should be hungry and every child should be loved. It's my opinion that it doesn't seem to matter much what my opinion is. It's my opinion that I do not have dominion over other people's opinions. how can I persuade? How can I influence others to agree with my opinion? So how can my opinion have dominion over other opinions? How can my opinion affect the change I want to see? In the words of that great Virginian, you know that great Virginian? Go ahead, name a great Virginian. Call it out, please. I can't hear you. Thomas Jefferson. Another one, please.
Patrick Henry.
Patrick Henry. Another one. Another great Virginian. James Madison. Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, James Madison. I heard those three.
George Washington.
George Washington. 4. Booker T. Washington. In the words of that great Virginian, Booker T. Washington, the world cares very little what you or I know, but it does care a great deal about what you and I do. And as long as we're talking about great Virginians, another great Virginian, Meriwether Lewis, said to Captain Clark, Captain Clark, it's my considered opinion that we are lost. You are correct, Meriwether. We need a map. How can I influence others to agree with my opinion? How can my opinion have dominion over other opinions? It's not easy. We even have laws that oppose influence. Driving under the influence can land you in jail and get people killed. Yet we seek influence because influence can help us persuade others to agree with our opinion. Do you have any influence? The etymology of influence is interesting. From the Latin influent, the present participle of influence, or to flow like a fluid, Maker's Mark. To sway, to persuade. There's a book called The Psychology of Influence. In it, the author tells us that reciprocity is needed to exert influence. The rule of reciprocity requires one person to try to repay what another person has provided. This sense of future obligation makes possible the development of various kinds of continuing relationships and exchanges that are beneficial to society. When we have a healthy, meaningful relational exchanges with others, we have an increased chance of exerting our influence. We teach our children to abide by the rule of reciprocity or possibly suffer serious social disapproval. Dale Carnegie wrote in How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you want to make a friend, get them to do you a favor. That's reciprocity at work. Carnegie believed that the ability to be successful in a number of areas in life is due to 15% professional knowledge and 85% to the ability to express ideas, to assume leadership, and to arouse enthusiasm in people.
Okay.
Remember, Dale Carnegie was talking about successful people. The criteria is needed, this criteria is needed to make my opinion your opinion, or your opinion my opinion. And that's just another opinion. Integrity matters too. We like integrity. Integrity matters when we are trying to persuade people to agree with our opinion. We like knowing what we can expect from somebody. We like the patterns that can afford a valuable shortcut through the complexity of existence. By being consistent with earlier decisions, we can reduce the need to process all the relevant information in future similar situations. People prefer to agree with individuals they know and like. As petty as this may be for some, one judgment we make is based on physical attractiveness. That physical beauty provides an advantage in social situations. Do you think that Sarah Palin would be as popular as she is if she looked like this guy? We also like people who are similar to us. We like being around like-minded people. It minimizes friction and criticism. It's more comforting. There's also lots of evidence that we are more willing to be persuaded and comply with a request if it comes from an authority figure. We often defer to authority because genuine authorities often possess high levels of knowledge, wisdom, and power. However, the notable downside to offering deference to all smart and wise authorities can occur in a mindless fashion. Sort of what we see in religion and lots of politics. The humans, and I'll include almost everybody in this room, tend to assign more value to opportunities when they are less available. Supply and demand, get it now. While supplies last, hurry, a limited number. How we present ourselves seems to matter too. Having enough influence to have our opinion heard might be enhanced if we arrive in a Gulf Stream rather than a Greyhound. To effect change, to change your mind, to hope to change the mind of another, to have your opinions put into action, having influence is of great importance. If you're not willing to change your own mind, you probably will not be able to change the mind of another either. But we as individuals do not often find ourselves in a good position to effect the changes we envision. So we sit quietly or are content to vent our opinions to friends and family. To have our opinions shape the future is a slow process. So slow, we may not even see movement. The key to effectively changing the opinions of others and turning thoughts into action is to seek the path that leads you to an influential, credible precipice from which your opinion will actually be heard and your plan of action can be implemented. Then your opinion has the hope of being embraced. The old joke about light bulbs and psychiatrists, how many psychiatrists it take to change a light bulb? One, but the light bulb must want to be changed. Well, that applies to civic engagement. How many people does it take to change public policy? Well, only a few, but you have to want to do it. You have to want to engage. You have to have the enthusiasm to get involved. Powerful, successful religions have understood for centuries the need to find an influential platform on which to communicate their message. This is evidenced by the Islamic pilgrims drawn to Mecca every year, the Hindus in India who congregate on the Ganges River to fulfill their ancient rituals. The Pope has millions of followers. In America, we have television's popular purveyors of pulpit pablum. And when they put the original replica of the nativity scene on display in Italy, or they open for viewing the Shroud of Turin, millions from around the world wait in line for a glimpse. What can we do? What should we do? How can my opinion have dominion over other opinions? One difference between critical thinkers and the religious pundits is that the thinkers appear more willing to scrutinize, evaluate, and seem quicker to change their mind based on new information. I'm not saying quick. I am saying quicker than some others. But it may also be likely, though, that the believers may be a happier bunch in the comfort of their make-believe. Just an opinion. The willingness to change your mind is considered an extraordinarily human trait, and generally a good thing. Unless you're one of those human politicians one of those human politicians who has been labeled a flip-flopper. The humans don't like flip-floppers. Why? Too many humans have succumbed to the opinion that flip-floppers are weak, indecisive, and poor leaders. But whom would you rather have in office? Someone who gets it right on the second try, or someone who pretends to be right all of the time? Socrates was of the opinion that faith persisted only because of ignorance, and that knowledge would diffuse the religious myths. Turns out that millions want to believe in spite of the knowledge that new information brings. Is it only me, or has anyone else considered that the truth is highly overrated and is afforded so much value because the truth is so rarely found? Look at all the people who claim to be searching for the truth, and listen to all the chatter we have to endure before we hear the slightest semblance of what may be true. A seeker of truth? One doesn't need to look for the truth. It'll find you. Just have patience. Today, much of what we thought was true 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 10 years ago, proves otherwise. With so much information available to manage, is it little wonder that people tend to prefer their fantasies to reality. And we sure work hard at convincing ourselves that our version of the truth, that our opinion should prevail. Our time is limited, so let's not waste it living someone else's life. Let's free ourselves from dogma, living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinion drown out your own inner voice. Have the courage to follow your intuition. In the words of that great Virginian, you know who I'm talking about. Name a great Virginian? Great Virginia? Somebody hasn't been named yet? I'm sorry? Booker? That's all you got? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson? Who?
That's all we got.
That's all you got? In the words of that great Virginian, Warren Beatty, I believe if a private citizen is able to affect public opinion in a constructive way, he doesn't have to be elected as a public servant to perform public service. That means everybody in this room can perform a public service if we give any credibility to Mr. Beatty. All right, a show of hands, please. I want to take a quick survey. Please participate. You don't have to. There's no obligation. But by a show of hands, how many people in this room right now have an opinion? I thought so. The struggle to sift through our opinions, through all of the opinions available, has been going on for centuries. Look at this slide. That slide says at the top, the world is ruled and governed by opinion. Take a guess when that wood carving was made. Did you say 1641? You're right. 1641. So what do you think? What's your opinion? The humans shout, distort, lie, blog, letter it up to the editors, get angry, get frustrated with their struggle to have their opinions heard and understood. It takes so much more time to be polite and civil with our discourse. Do you think all the noise and all the chatter is worth the effort? Is there a hope for civil discourse? And this is an open question that I want to hear some answers on. I want to hear your opinions. given the fact that you need to be heard to have your opinion carry weight if you're trying to affect public policy change, can you get that done by being soft-spoken, quiet, and civil with others? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?